Yes, that seems better. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out a little bit early. We're getting started with a bit of a discussion. I'm Peter KIRN from Create Digital Music. And these guys, the duo, when in their duo form, is FLIPMU of flipmu.com, if you want to put it that way. Jordan and Owen on Arduinos and stuff that they made. So here's the idea of this evening. The original idea of this evening was I said, you know, we need an alternative to just the stuff that happens at NAMM. Because we never get to kind of sit down in a big group and talk about, kind of put our heads together on what the future could look like. So people show up at this thing that's basically a trade show. And there's always amazing stuff and cool stuff. And then there's always kind of a lingering sense, but that there's other things that we want. Like this, you know, this new model synthesizer is great, but it doesn't have a hovercraft attached to it, or, you know, the software. It's nice having these new software features, but I want to be able to use a holographic interface with my mind or something. You know, all of us are now that we're living in 2010. It's the future. It's the future, and if you were rooting for the androids to take over, it hasn't happened yet. So we still believe that the machines will eventually win out. And we want to make sure that we're on their side, that they know that we're on their side when that happens. So we need to get a little bit of a head start. So the idea of tonight's discussion, seriously, the idea of tonight's discussion is talk a little bit about how people are performing live, talk to these artists about kind of what they're doing, and what's working and what isn't working, and then talk about how we as a community can not only just wait for people in the industry to deliver those things to us, but how we can actually make them happen ourselves. So I'll let these guys talk a little bit about what they're doing, which is absolutely on those lines.
Sweet, so I'm Jordan. I'm Owen. So we went to school here in Los Angeles. We're going to school in New Zealand right now, doing our doctorate, and we really like music technology. We've done a bunch of projects, including the Arduino with a couple other people. We really liked the mono and couldn't get our hands on one. So we kind of reverse engineered it with the Arduino, and yeah, and that's great because it really made it so it's more open source and you can kind of extend it.
So does everybody know what a mono is or what your Arduino is?
Who has never heard of the mono?
Lots of buttons.
Lots of buttons, but what do they do, right? So yeah, that's the beautiful thing is they do nothing. And so we wrote a little application. There's a lot of other applications that do similar things, but this one's called NAMM state. And so what this allows us to do is it lets us assign each button on here to be either a toggle switch or momentary or however we want to set it up. So if you look right now, some of these are toggle switches and some of these are momentary. We do other things like radio buttons, and so you can set groups up and so they would kill the other button, that kind of thing, and choke it. But it's just super easy interface. You just click toggle trigger and it maps it out, sends it right over MIDI. I'm using Ableton Live, and then you can just map it just like you would anything else in the environment. We're all familiar with that.
But yeah, the project aside from really just thinking the mono was awesome and wanting one and not being able to get one, the other thing that we really liked about the project is since it's on an Arduino, there's a good community of people that modify these, and it is really easy to make it something different than what it originally was, which is kind of what we're really excited about.
So there's already been people in the community who extended this and added LCD screens so they can over Live OC get their track, automatically send their track names and whatnot mapped out across the buttons. Other things that we're working on currently, like a tricolor version with RGB LEDs
And pressure sensitivity. So that's one project. We also do another project, which is like a multi-touch table called Brick Table that had like audio installation stuff that we try and do. And basically we're really interested in trying to create a more organic way to play live electronic music, which is actually really inspired by seeing a lot of LA artists play, like Edit and people. And this idea...
He's here, in the front row.
But,
Actually, if you guys want to come up while we're having this conversation.
But we were really inspired by this idea that you didn't have to be slave to a pre-composed song and just press play and then freak out behind while the song was playing out. There was a way that you could organically communicate with other musicians and play, and that's really what kind of interests us.
Yeah, so when we play live, basically we just set up a bunch of really simple loops that we can recompose and reconfigure on the fly. So this is how we like to perform. So instead of having longer kind of whole tracks and that kind of thing, we have these really short, you know, I don't know, maybe a bar or so of material. And then we have a bunch of custom software that we've made, a bunch of stuff. Owen's made like a whole suite of reactor tools that lets us kind of chop up the audio and reconfigure on the fly.
We made one like, does everybody know what MLR is? So I really liked MLR, but I wasn't so stoked on the fact that you like had to load the sound as a buffer. And I thought it'd be much cooler if you could just have like a plugin that did the same thing but took anything in. You could just stream it. So I built one in Reactor that basically like each button is a subdivision of the 8 notes, and then you could quantize like MLR. So it basically works just like MLR but streams in real-time input. And the idea is that one day you would have it where you could and that's that. Thanks very much. No, but the idea is that like one day you could have like live musicians play along with your set, and the drummer would be playing, streaming through your computer, and you could chop him in real time because you're streaming real live input. So that sort of works.
Yeah, so why don't we show a little bit of that? So and we'll talk about one of the issues with this. So here's just a drum loop. The chopper is streaming in, and it's basically separating this drum beat over these 8 buttons here. So I can just re-trigger it. And now if I scroll to, I don't know, a different part of my set, and I start playing, so let me just go to a different track. Alright, so let's say here. Let me see. Here's a lot of the same sounds. Let me go. Here, how about something funny? Snoop. Martin Snoop. Alright, so that's like a freeze-play thing, which is another effect. But basically, the problem with this is, it's great that I can run it on my machine, but Owen's syncing to me right now, and he's slaving to me. And because it's all delay-based, because there's a little bit of jitter in the tempo,
it doesn't work on mine, so I wrote it, let him use it, and then I get to watch him play it. It's awesome. But basically that's like the one big thing that Jordan and I are kind of focusing on this year is sync, which Ableton, the new release is much better. It's really awesome. But even like the plus or minus 0.5, the problem is like any of these tempo-based plugins, like delays, all these things, you get weird artifacts. You know, if you don't interpolate the delay and all these kind of things. And it actually completely breaks that plugin. And I'm working on trying to figure out how to make it robust enough. But the other thing, we're taking the other approach too. Jordan and I are working on trying to write a sync client that basically would be able to send out like all messages like OSC and MIDI. So you could sync to like many different things, including Ableton, and that it would be rock solid, no deviation, but still able to follow.
So we've already started on that and have a working model, and we're going to be trying it out in a few weeks with the Machine Orchestra, which is going to be this ensemble that we're doing at Red Cap with a bunch of musical robotics. But it basically allows anybody to just open up the client, and everybody connects to the server, and it configures you. In order to make it more robust for the future, we're going to start doing some kind of smoothing and all kinds of interpolation and whatnot. So hopefully we can solve the sync issue. But Ableton has done a great job of making it much more stable, at least in the newest release of Ableton, which we're very excited about.